Go. Yes. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much, Aurore, for joining us at this series of sessions for celebrating International Women's Day at School of Health Sciences, the University of Manchester. And so I have this great pleasure of welcoming Dr. Aurore Bardry here at our session. And I hope you will all enjoy it. And I cannot wait to hear more about how we can use fashion to enhance and embrace equality. Aurore, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carolina. So first thing first, thank you very much for those who are attending and those who are listening remotely. And I have to say, when Carolina contacted me to give you a talk about embracing equality and about like women empowerment, and I really smiled to my old self, because when I was a young postdoctoral researcher, I was really lucky to be co-supervised by Carolina, and I was really lucky to attend your school meetings and lab meetings, and I was so impressed by the male professors, but also the female professors. And I have to say that I was attentive to the meetings, yes, but I was also like picking up information about, you know, the personality and the career, the CV of the female researcher. And for the first time, I have to admit, really sadly, even if it was my second postdoctoral position, it was one of the first school meetings and lab meetings where I had equal number of male and female professors. So I was really impressed by like the career of all the female professors, and in particular, like Carolina, I have to say that if I'm the female professor that I am today, it's thanks to you. And I didn't have any complaint from my students, so I think you did a good job in training me. And today I would like to talk about my area of expertise, which is psychology of fashion, which is an entirely new area. I'm a psychologist. I've got a PhD in cognitive psychology and neuroscience, which is why I did a postdoctoral position with Carolina. And after the second postdoctoral position, I had like a early life crisis, thinking, what should I do? I really liked my research, but I wanted to help people a bit more. And I had a year of maternity leave, having twins. And at the end of this maternity leave, I saw a job advert from the London College of Fashion who were looking for a psychologist to do psychology of fashion, and thought, why on earth is that? How can we mix psychology, which is a very serious, scientific rooted topic, with something that is so frivolous, something fashion? For me, by then, fashion was so frivolous, so not serious, that you cannot mix the two together. Psychology of fashion was really something like saying healthy hamburger. But because I was really intrigued, I thought to myself, hold on, you know what psychology is, but do you really know what fashion is? So this is something that I would like to talk about today, and I would like to discuss, explain how we can use fashion to enhance and embrace equality. I don't know about you, but when I talk about fashion, when I say the word fashion, I would like for you to picture some images, some names that you have in mind. Because for me, fashion was this. On the one hand, fashion was the bottom picture, like must-have fashion trends, like the outfits, the accessories, even the haircut, the shoes that I needed to wear to be trendy, and trendy was to be cool. And I don't know about you, but as a teenager, I think I never met an adult saying, oh yes, as a teenager was so trendy and so cool. I wasn't trendy enough. I didn't like the trend, but I was surrounded by people in my high school following the trend. And even now I've got some colleagues or friends who are saying, oh, I'm wearing this because, you know, this is the color or the jacket of 2023. And this wasn't my case. So as a psychologist, I was always wondering, why on earth are they wearing some things or some outfit because a person, whoever, said this is beautiful? And now it's getting worse with social media. Like teenagers and even us are like, we are scrolling and we are like catching up with trends, and you know, pretty girls who are astonishingly beautiful. Like, I don't know if I've got a lot of parents in this audience, but for example, they almost got me, because when I was a young mother of twins, I don't know about you, but you know, if my babies or myself were roughly cleaned, roughly fed, it was a success of my day. And I was scrolling on Instagram saying this mom who was super fit, super healthy, wearing heels and making healthy pancakes for like a usual breakfast. And for me, it was, wow, this is not how I live. So there were a discrepancy. So it made me feel bad. So this is the one side of fashion that I imagine. And the other side of fashion is the two other pictures. For me, fashion was beauty. And beauty was obviously the kind of woman that I pictured in my slide. It was being tall, built thin, having curve but wisely placed. It was really be tall, and as you can see, except Naomi Campbell, they were all Caucasian. I will talk about that further on. So I was, from a very young age, I and you were bombarded with ideal of beauty pictures, and we'll talk about it further on in the later slide. But I will say something personal, but I will relate it to science later on. When I was a teenager, my absolute dream, and this is why I put a picture in this up there, my absolute dream as a teenager was to look like Naomi Campbell. For me, she was the most beautiful woman on earth. For those who know me, you know that I miserably failed in this dream, and I'm really I'm small. I'm not as thin as her. I'm Caucasian. I look nothing like Naomi Campbell, but now I can laugh about it. But when I was a teenager, I was really looking for things to do or things to buy to get closer to this dream, and this can be very dangerous. So when you see this landscape, for me, fashion was frivolous. Fashion was something that was not serious at all, something that was for the pretty girls, and I didn't consider myself as a pretty girl. But fashion is nothing but frivolous. Fashion is a very serious thing where a lot of unethical behavior happens. And when I saw this job advert at London Couture Fashion, where they were looking for psychologists to design an entire department of psychology fashion, I thought, hold on, how we can apply psychology, mix psychology with fashion. So the more I read about fashion industry, the more doors are opened, the more dark, unethical things I was reading. First thing first, pollution. The fashion industry is one of the most polluting and polluted industry in the planet. Some researcher would say, or some report will say it's the third industry, some will say the second. It's very difficult to put a number because there's so many variables implied in the fashion production. But what we know for sure is the fashion industry per se had the initial aim to convince us to purchase. The more a consumer will purchase, the better it will be for the industry. It was the initial business model. It is slightly changing, but for a very long time and still now, it's the more you guys consumer purchase, the better the industry of fashion will be. And we have, very sadly, we had a birth of a phenomenon, I would say 10 years ago, of fast fashion. Fast fashion is brands like H&M, Zara. It's brands that produce so much that they produce around 52 lines of clothes per year. That means you also have almost have a different line of clothes in the entire store, a new line every week. And it will push you to consume more and more and more. Even more sadly, there's a new phenomenon coming up a bit before COVID, the super fast fashion. That means even worse than that. And I'm talking about my worst nightmare as a researcher and consumer and an expert in marketing, Shein. They are worse than H&M and Zara because, for example, while Zara was an expert in knockoff, in copying the style of some catwalks, some designers, Shein is really like copying the style within 2 hours between the catwalks and the production and sending back to Europe because it's not produced in Europe. It takes them between 24 and 48 hours. And while it was very difficult to get information with fast fashion brands such as H&M, Zara, now we're getting some information because, for example, H&M wants to become more sustainable. With this ultra super fast fashion like Shein, it's impossible to get information. It's like top secret, like we cannot collaborate with them, we cannot discuss with them. So there's a lot of pollution surrounding fashion industry, from the production to the treatment of employees, which can be summarized. I gave you two examples here. It's some pictures from Fashion Revolution. If you're into, if you want to better understand what's going on in fashion, and if you want to have some tips about sustainable fashion, go to the website. It's astonishingly rich of information. So two examples here. On the, well, I don't know your side. So on my left-hand side, it's you can read that every year an estimated of 300k tons of used clothing, about 140 million pounds worth, go to the landfill in the UK. So I'm not even talking about the African continent, I'm just talking about the UK. We know, for example, that on average, women, I don't have any numbers for men, so women wear only 60% of their wardrobe. That means you have 40%, almost half of your wardrobe, that you keep, but you don't use. Some of you may have even some untagged clothes in their wardrobe, but you never know. Or you always have these trousers, these jeans that you don't fit in anymore because you gain 5 kilos, but you know, one day you will lose these 5 kilos. So you will put it back. So I will talk about that later on, to talk about your well-being. And the other picture shows that the volume of water consumed by the fashion industry today is nearly 79 billion meters square annually, enough to fill nearly 32 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. So for example, to make one t-shirt, we know now that the volume of water we need to produce one t-shirt is the equivalent of the amount of water you drink during 3 years for one t-shirt. So you can see that from the production and the pollution, and like produce a cloth is very, very polluting and dramatically negative for the planet. And I've got a very sad example, and I'm very sorry to talk about that during your lunch break, but in 2013 in Pakistan, in a city called in a place called Rana Plaza, there were a factory where our clothes from Western consumer were made, so clothes from Levi's, Gap, H&M, and there were a lot of workers working in this factory. One morning, the head of the team, the manager of the teams, came to the manager of the building saying there are some cracks in the wall, so it's getting more and more dangerous. And the head of the building replied, "Don't care, go back to work." And the cracks were getting bigger and bigger. So the head of the team came back to see the head of the building saying, "It's getting dangerous, we're out." And the reply was, "If you're out, you don't come back tomorrow because you won't be paid and you lose your job." Everyone stayed in the building because they needed the job so much, and they were barely not paid, but they needed this peanuts of money to survive and make their family survive. A couple of hours later, this is the picture of the building, and a lot of people died, more than 1,127, because I want to say the numbers correctly. People died, and more than 2,500 got injured. Why on earth the head of building said, "You go back," because if he was losing his job, he was screwed as well. So his family would die out of, of starving, and he will die as well. So it was really like, it's a negative cycle that make them people stay and lose their life making our t-shirt. Most of the employees working there were women and children, and we're starting to have numbers saying that the climate change impact majority women and children. 80% of the population who is dramatically impacted by climate change are women. And what can we do when we have this information? So I'm telling you this, and except if you're a robot, you are feeling emotional, or you have like a start of negative feeling. And you're saying, okay, maybe I won't buy H&M anymore. Maybe I will look at my wardrobe again, and or maybe I will keep listening to Aurore, and I will see what can I do with all this information. So based on that, but if it's correct, like if I'm explaining to you in 2 minutes what's going on in the fashion industry, and say, okay, I'm convinced, I'm stop buying from H&M, or I will consider my consumerism in fashion. Well, H&M will not exist anymore. Shine won't be that successful because I'm not the only one who work in this field, and we kept having conferences, writing books, like if you want to know, you will know. So that intrigued some researchers, and some social psychologists work with Fashion Revolution to put in situ, in vivo, in situ experiment in the middle of Berlin. And I hope that you will listen to the video. It's a video from Fashion Revolution showing the experiment. So Carolina, stop me if you can't hear the video.
We all like fashion for a bargain, but don't often consider how our clothes are made. Fashion Revolution made it their mission to make people aware. We created a simple experiment. Would people buy a €2 t-shirt if they knew who really paid the price?
I think we may have lost the audio of the video.
90% changed their minds and decided to donate, proving people do care when they know. 24 hours.
So people do care when they know. So that's this is a very, very interesting incident. They didn't publish it. It was really like a charity action, like to raise the awareness of the information. But from a research point of view, and from the methodological point of view, it was very interesting, not too biased. So, but we ask ourselves as researchers, okay, what about, so it's working in 2 minutes, but is it working in real life? Because if it was working in real life, again, Shine and H&M wouldn't be there anymore. But when we tackle it into in a theoretical background and with laboratory research, we realize that except where they're forced to do a choice, most of the time people know, but they don't act, which is called attitude behavioral gap in as a theoretical background. So, for example, today you're aware, you have the information, but if you have if you like Gap, I will stop hitting on H&M and Shine. If you love Gap, it's really your favorite brand ever for many different reasons, and it's on sales, and you can see a nice top that when you wear it, you will feel beautiful, which is quite a rare feeling, in particular for women. You will buy it. So now the research is really trying to first make people aware of the tremendous impact of fashion industry in the planet, as with the pollution aspect, but also to make the world understand that most of people that are hurt from this fashion pollution are women. So what can we do? So now our work as researchers or fashion psychologists or experts in fashion marketing is really trying to enhance equality in the fashion workforce, because we need to increase, and for that, to that aim, we want and we need to increase consumer knowledge in sustainable fashion. So to make people aware with information is one thing, but we know that the information, as aware as you can be, you won't act necessarily. It's like, I know, but we have this attitude behavioral gap for racism as well, or misogyny, like, I'm not misogynist, but, and they will say something really misogynist. I'm not racist, but, and they will say something really racist. It's the same for the fashion consumption. I want to save the planet, but this little red dress makes me look so myself, so pretty. I feel so confident in it that I will buy it. So at the moment in research to enhance equality in fashion workforce, we're really trying to implement some marketing adverts. We're trying to even go into setup of the stores, trying to make people speak up. And what is amazing is, on the one hand, we can manage, for example, at the moment I've got several research projects on empathy. So giving some information doesn't work. Like there is no translation in the behavior. But if I use your empathy to say, this is what they actually did in the experiments in Berlin. If I show you pictures and videos of women that have been hurt producing new t-shirts, that may impact some of you, the most empathic people. That means, hopefully, this is my hypothesis, it will be more translatable in your behavior. That's one side of our work. The other side of our work is trying to see how, what kind of consumers, for the first one, it was more empathic consumers, but what kind of consumers, for example, regarding age, can be more aware and to act accordingly to this information. At the moment, it seems that the younger generation are more inclined to be upset and shocked by all these pictures and all this information. We don't know at the moment. We're researching if this younger generation are more willing to act accordingly or not, or if women are more inclined to act accordingly than men, or if men are more inclined to act accordingly. So at the moment where we know that information and action, there's no translation, but we're trying to push people to be aware and to really understand the lack of equality and enhance equality in fashion. And then now I would like to switch to another topic about equality in fashion model. Remember when I told you that for me, this picture was the beauty to achieve. I wanted to become Naomi Campbell. For me, these ladies were so beautiful that they had to be everything. They had it all, the beauty, the intelligence and happiness. Because when you're happy, when you're beautiful, you have to be happy, right? This is where I started to work with fashion models, because I had this naive perception of beauty equal happiness. And they were the most beautiful women, so they must be the most happiest ever. And when I started to work with top models, with female top models, I started to realize that they mentioned some stories and they mentioned some symptoms that were really close to physical and sexual abuse, and without being physically or sexually abused. And I was really interested about what was going on behind the catwalks. I met the lady who wrote the book in the middle, Victoire Macon-Dosser, Size Zero, and it's when she wrote the book, she's still young, but she was really young adult. And a story starts like a dream. She's having a coffee with her mom in Paris. She's 16 years old. She's preparing the A-level. And at one point, a gentleman stops and say, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. Have you ever thought about being a top model?" And she laughed with the mom saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, thank you, but no, thank you. No, seriously, this is my card. I'm an agent. Do you want to be a top model?" And this was the start of a dream. She never thought about becoming a top model. It took her 6 months to almost die out of modeling. She was eating 3 apples a day, and they initially invited her, following this scouting episode, they initially invited her as the agent. It was a very famous agency. And they were like, oh, all positive, oh, you're astonishingly beautiful. Just if you can just lose 2 kilos, that would be wonderful. Just 2. 2 is easy. She lost it in like a couple of days. And then they were doing some measurements, say, if you can lose one size, that will be astonishing, but just for this catwalk, and then you can go back to your normal size. At one point, they were asking her to drop a size and a half, which this is a picture in the middle. This is a picture of her in one of the last catwalks. She's a bag of bones, and you can see I put a picture on the other side. And I put this picture on purpose because initially when I looked at this picture with this young lady in dark bikini, initially I found her, I really liked the picture, and I thought, oh my God, she's really pretty. And then I stopped, like this is the consumer Aurora looking out saying, wow, gorgeous. And then I stopped and I put my researcher hat on. I said, hold on, no, she's really, really, really thin. If you look at the details of her legs, of a tummy, of like her shoulders and necks, she is incredibly thin. too thin. And then, so I realized that fashion models suffering of a great deal of eating disorder. My two last papers show that on top of suffering from eating disorder, they also suffer from stress, anxiety, depression, and also they do have the same symptoms that physical and sexually abused, even if they claim they haven't been sexually abused themselves. Then a lot of my two papers show that a lot of female models talk about the objectification of the body. They share some story like agents and photographers talking about their body and themselves as a bunch of flowers. Oh yeah, if we put this lipstick on the lips, that will I don't know, increase slightly the size of her lips because the lips are a bit too thin. I don't like her lips. Or oh, did you see this lips? Oh, it's too large. Like talking about like an object, and they were in front of them. The worst story that I've heard on top of I've got two stories that I want to share to really like portray their life as models. The first story is from Size Zero book. Victoire Macron-Dosser has been booked for a catwalk on a day, and in that situation, like the model has to wait at a flat at her home, and she's waiting for a taxi to pick up, and then she does the catwalk and she go back home. She's been waiting the entire morning, lunchtime, afternoon, evening. She's like, okay, and she's not eating anything because if you eat even slightly, then you won't feel great catwalking. So she didn't have any food, barely any water, and she was waiting at 11 p.m. The taxi could call her, and she's saying that he was waiting for her. So okay, she grabbed the thing. She didn't know what to expect in terms of catwalk. She didn't know the name of the designer. So she go in the taxi. She arrived in a very dodgy place, booked by an agent. The agent is not there. No one is there. One hairdresser is doing her hair, asking her to put herself in a very sexy bikini, wearing high heels. And she's like, am I wearing any clothes? And she's like, no, darling. The door is there. And she pushed the door thinking it was like the door to, the dressing room. The room was not a dressing room. It was a room full of four quite mature gentlemen who were drinking champagne together and waiting for her to catwalk in front of her. And she's a professional top model. She's not a prostitute. There's a lot of agency. If you want to open an agency, you can do it in 3 clicks. So whoever with good thought or very bad thoughts can open an agency. There's a lot of cocaine business that are flourishing thanks to scouting and agency. There's a lot of slavery for young girls. It's dramatic. And the second story is about two models, one male models and another female models, who were doing some photo shoot with the photographers and with a lot of people around them, like between 10 and 15 people, according to their story. And from one person, I think the photographer said, hey guys, lunchtime. So the 10 people went in the other room to have lunch, putting all the objects down and switching off the lights, forgetting the two models. So the models were in the dark on stage, waiting with all the other objects. So this is the kind of story that I gathered from my research. So these beautiful women are really treating badly. And I kept mentioning female models because at the moment, all my research focused on female models because only the female models want to talk. And I don't know if because the male models are treated better. And I think it's because a lack of awareness again. To enhance equality, we need to speak up. And the female models, post-#MeToo, are starting to speak up. I can see more and more male models speaking up, but it's really like a small effect. From this small effect, I can see that some male models are treated as badly as their female counterparts, but still I can see, again, a stronger impact on female models. So this is from the top model side to our mirror. So I said that I wanted to become Naomi Campbell because it was true, but on purpose. Because I'm Caucasian, I'm small, and I've got a bigger size than Naomi Campbell. So every time I see Naomi Campbell and look myself in the mirror, I see the difference. And the difference is obviously not in my favor, it's in her favor because she's beautiful. And if I don't look like her, I won't feel great about myself. This is what we call social construct of beauty. Since our childhood, we are bombarded with picture of ideal of beauty. Think about all the Disney princesses that you watched when you were a girl. I don't know about I watched a Disney movie, like several ones actually. I tried 3 different old Disney movie with my daughter and one of her female friends, and they looked at me saying, "Your princess sucks because she's blonde, long hair, she's beautiful, and she's only beautiful. Look at this princess, mommy. She's really, really better." And they were less impacted than me because I was really bombarded with this is beautiful. This model for me, she was beautiful. If she represents the beauty and I don't look like her, I'm not beautiful enough. And this social construct of beauty is really, and this is not my personal opinion, this is my research and from my other colleagues that show that this social construct of beauty is really what we call size 0 young Caucasian type of beauty. That means if you look at the models pre-Black Lives Matter movement, and by Black Lives Matter movement, I'm talking about the murder of George Floyd, not the creation of Black Lives Matter movement in 2013, but before the murder of George Floyd, most of the models were Caucasian. And you can even see some interviews that interestingly most of them have been erased since the murder of George Floyd, saying that Black models don't sell. And it's like, and Black models were really struggling to find some job in agency because it's a bit like in movies. We have a lot of interviews, particularly in France, from Black actresses saying Black actresses have a very specific type of jobs in the cinema. It was the same for catwalks. Like, we needed a Black model per catwalk. Tick the box, we diverse. It's changing slightly, even though my latest paper showed that we have a slight increase in frequency, in quantity of representation of Black models. But in terms of the quality of representation is still really, really poor. Like, it's always second plan. It's always not in the leader role. It's still wrong. Young. So ladies, how many of us have had this advice when you turn 30 saying, 30 years old, it's time for your anti-aging cream? Who cares about wrinkles? Except Dove, who've done a series of adverts saying wrinkles are beautiful, like age is beauty. Nike with Serena Williams saying age is just a number. Young, youth equal beauty. These were it started with the vampires. Like, the vampires are young because you need to be young to be pretty. All the teenagers are, all the top models look like very young people. And even one of my paper about top models show that the fashion industry asked the models to look like a bag of bones because they're looking for a body, not an adult body, but a child body. And so we need to be young to be pretty. If I ask you, I used to do a game in class asking my students to name a list of Caucasian models, of Black models, of Asian models. And obviously, they have Naomi Campbell names and they cannot name any Asian models, and they have a long list of Caucasian models. Same for young people. Name me any young models, they will have a long list. And if you can name any models that are older than 50 years old, you have maybe one name if you're passionate about fashion catwalks, and that's it. Size 0, it is well known that we need to be thin to be pretty. This is a message that the catwalks have been sending you, movies has been sending you, Disney movies has been sending you. So we need to be thin, to be young, and to be Caucasian mainly. And this social construct of beauty will make us feel really bad. So on the one hand, we have top models who are barely surviving modeling. And on the other hand, we see them as the most beautiful people on the planet, and it makes us feel so bad about ourselves. And this is what we call self-congruency in marketing. And this is something that I work on for my research. If we want to embrace and empower women, empower consumers, but most fashion consumers are women, we need to see ourselves in adverts, in catwalks, in mannequin. For example, in the UK, the average size for a dress is size 14 to 16. If you come to any store, any fashion store, you will see size 0, like size 10 mannequin. And if you are into catwalks, you can count in 1 or 2 fingers the number of models that are like have a size that is higher than size 8. So it's, you don't see yourself. If you're invisible, what will be your feeling? You will feel bad. You'll develop eating disorder, high anxiety, high stress, and low well-being. And you won't buy. This is what is called self-congruency. If you don't see yourself in the advert, you won't buy from the advert. So the fashion industry is silly enough to make us feel bad about ourselves, which will push us to buy, but in a lower amount that we could buy if we felt happy. And again, as I said, most of fashion consumers are women. 80% of fashion consumers are women. Interestingly, because we are talking about equality here, we have more and more research on that topic, like how to enhance happiness on women in women. How can we make women feel better with fashion? This is my core of my research. Interestingly, there is no number about men. For example, if we talk about body dissatisfaction, the fact that we dislike our body, like every morning you wake up, you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like what you see as your body. This is called body dissatisfaction. We know for sure, and there are plenty of beautiful research on that topic, that 91% of women dislike their body. I mean, only 9% of us ladies like what they see in the mirror. And we would love to give you a number about men, but they are none. There's no research on body image because, hey, men, you know that, you feel good, right? Like you're not bombarded with ideal of beauty, of masculinity, of men full of muscles, even if you're 12 years old, and it's the same. But at the moment, there is no research. So to feel more equal, it would be great to have more and more research on body dissatisfaction and eating disorder in young men. There's some research showing that young men actually suffer more from eating disorder than women. So there's something going on that hopefully will enhance equality among genders. And my take-home message is really in order to enhance equality for women in fashion, and sorry, I'm not mentioning men, but really like if we focus on women who are suffering the most, according to research, from this pressure of beauty, we need to speak up and be aware. And this is why the #MeToo movement, on top of all the benefits, had the benefits of making us women feel more free to speak up. Like, I don't know if you've seen this change in your classroom, but in the UK now, in France, I can see women talking about, I don't feel good today, I don't like my body, so I was wearing like streetwear clothes because I don't like it. Or even talking about that demonstration, saying I don't feel good in my body today because I've got my menstruation, so just bring me hot chocolate and I'll feel better during the class. And now we speak up, and for example, as a professor, as a teacher, I think it's one of our duty to speak up in a sensitive way, in an appropriate way. But for example, when I do talk with my female and male students about it, I do enhance that there is no research in men, which is why we don't know what's happening, but something may happen with our male counterfellow, and in female, what they're going through is something that everybody is going through it. Like the 91% of body dissatisfaction is something that I kept saying, because I beg my male students and male colleagues to call their mom, to call their wife, to call their girlfriend, say, oh my God, you're so pretty today, and I don't know, tomorrow, whatever. And I'm saying to my female students, colleagues, saying, it's okay, because I too, like I do as well, do not like my body. 91%, like it's almost everyone, darling, don't worry about it. So I think to enhance equality, we need to look after our men and also speak up. And the last but not the least, I want to like finish this conclusion to mention that all you need is, and not love, but yeah, all you need is you, because yeah, all you need is love, because you need yourself. I'm sure some of you are aware of this pyramid of Maslow. So Maslow in the 60s developed a theory called pyramid of needs, saying that to be happy, to reach the top of the pyramid, self-actualization, which is like the happiest level of that you can achieve, you need to fulfill some needs. First, physiological needs. You need food, water, you need food in your fridge and a roof on top of your head. You need to feel safe. You need to have a roof on top of your head where you feel safe, so your home won't be attacked. You won't be under bombs. You will be in the safe neighborhood, and you will have it will be you feel at home and safely. You will also be safe. You will also feel safe with your body. That means if you walk in the street, you won't have the fear of it being attacked. That's what they call the basic needs. It's not that basic, but it is like the foundation of your happiness. Then you need to love and belongings. That means you need to love and be loved unconditionally. That means being loved with no condition. So whoever is listening to me remotely and now, if at home, if you have a life partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a wife or husband that say, I love you, but this is the start of condition. That means there's an asterisk saying, I love you, but I will love you more if you lose these 5 kilos. And you will wear these jeans that you kept keeping in your wardrobe. I love you more if you can work in, I love you, but if you can work at a very prestigious university like University of Manchester, I will even love you better. I love you more if you can keep your hair in this way, or if you can don't love that way, or if you can behave for once, I will love you even better. It's called conditioned love. And this is something that some of you may have experienced. Sometimes it can be, I'm talking about life pattern, it can be also with parents. If your parents say, I love you, but I want you to achieve this amount of study, and I want for you to become this job, this is a condition. I will love you on that condition. If you have a conditional love, that means with condition, you cannot love yourself, because you will always be prompt as this if I don't do that. It's not that funny, but the funny thing is we do that with ourselves. I don't love me, I don't love my body because I've got, I don't know, scar on my tummy. Yeah, you gave birth. So you have scars somewhere. I don't any scars, like I don't like my face because I've got a scar on my face. I don't like me, I don't like my, I don't know, legs, I don't like my arms. I can go on forever, because like if we had to share the thing that we don't love about our bodies, I think we'll spend the next 3 hours. Can you see that this is all the condition that you give yourself? Like I will love myself if I lose 5 kilos. I will love myself if I can put on this jean again. I will love myself if I manage to, I don't know, publish this paper, do this job, please my mom, please, I don't know, whoever. So it's really like we do that for ourselves. So just to be easy on us will be something that will be very, very much like very good for our happiness. Love yourself and don't act like without any conditions, and don't accept conditioned love. And this will be the start of esteem. To love yourself no matter what, like you can gain 20 kilos, you can lose 10 kilos, you can dye your hair purple, you still be lovable. And then you will have a self-esteem. And with this self-esteem, you're reaching the self-actualization, which is the highest level of happiness we can reach. Fashion can help you with that. Fashion is a very serious tool. Fashion is nothing than frivolous. Again, it's a very serious, valuable tool that we can use to enhance our self-actualization. First thing first, you forget the existence of trends. It's a condition. You will be pretty if you wear that color. Blue was the color, it was like dark green was the color of 2022. I can bet you that it will be something related to blue. I don't know which blue, because there are 32 different blues, but this 2023 will be like blue will be the color. But if you don't like blue, why on earth you want to be stuck with a color that you don't like, a color that doesn't fit you? Don't follow the trends. You can still like scrolling on Instagram, you can still looking at fashion magazine, but do you think that Anna Wintour can dictate what you put in your wardrobe and what make you feel beautiful? No, you're the only one empowered to say, this is what I wear, and I can wear, I don't know, my hair purple. You don't like it, but I look so pretty in it. Like every morning I look at myself in the mirror with my purple hair. I'm like, I'm astonishingly beautiful, even if it's not the trend. Secondly, if you have time this weekend, maybe, or at the end of the week, maybe it's time to tidy up this 40% of wardrobe that you don't use, and decide what you do with this pair of jeans. So do you want to lose these 5 kilos? Yes, lose it. go for a walk, for a run, I eat a bit of salads, and then you lose this 5 kilos and you will put on the jeans. If you're beautiful with these 5 kilos, and I'm sure you are, well, you can sell this jean or give it to a person in need, and then you'll feel better, or you'll have some money to buy a clothes that does fit you for real. My research shows that minimalism do enhance well-being for some people. For some people is something that I'm working on, but one paper showed that to be minimalistic with their wardrobe, decrease stress, decrease anxiety, make you feel more joyful about playing with your clothes, make you feel more creative by playing with your clothes, and you feel less tired because you have less choices, so you feel less tired. So minimalism can bring you happiness, but not for everyone. So if you are the kind of consumer that needs to open a wardrobe and have plenty of clothes and you feel safe like that, you don't do anything, you forget what I said. But it's always good to tidy up the wardrobe. And the last and not the least, and you will hate me to leave you on that question, but to love yourself, you need to know who you are. And this is the most difficult question to answer. Some of you may have already the answer. Some of you will spend the entire life to try to find the answer, but who are you? Are you an independent woman? Are you an independent man? Do you like fashion? What kind of fashion do you like? Do you like your job? What do you want to do in life? What is your goal? Are you in control of your life? I can give you another 4 hours lecture on that, the small picture, but if you don't know who you are, like for example, will you feel beautiful? Do you really need to lose these 5 kilos? Is it who you are? Do you want to be really thin? Or is it okay with this you plus 5 kilos, or maybe plus 10, maybe? Like, who are you will be the key question to answer to reach self-actualization. And in order to enhance equality, to be equal in the world, we need to know and love ourselves. We cannot embrace anything if first we don't look after ourselves. Then the moment you love yourself, then you'll be able to speak up. You'll be able to read whatever you want to read to help other women, to help other men. But this cannot be done without love. If you don't love ourselves, we cannot love somebody else. And to reach equality, we need to love each other, which is really cheesy to say, but this is what I'm convinced of, and this is what my research are pointing out. We need to love each other, and we need to love ourselves to enhance equality, and this can be done thanks to fashion. Thank you very much for your attention.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This was absolutely wonderful, so thought-provoking. I'm happy to open the floor for questions. If anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself and just speak up, or put the question in the chat.
And I can see the chat now.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not seeing any questions yet. Aurora, I was wondering, are there any simple steps that we could take to enhance this equality or equity through fashion? So I was thinking, like, what sort of fashion tips would you give us? Like you mentioned already, some brands that are really not good for women and not good for the environment. And if I remember correctly, some of the voices are that maybe the best way of going around it is actually trying to reuse clothes, buy used clothes, sort of keep clothes in circulation for as long as possible. Is that correct? What is the best way of doing it?
I will give 2 tips. The first one is to increase awareness and be curious about anything. Like, for example, Fashion Revolution is a website to go to, because it's easy, and you can, if you want to read more, if you want to read books, they will have like a suggestion for books. To understand, for example, the label, when for example in H&M we will read a lot of made in Pakistan and China, and we have the stereotype of making in China, okay, mistreatment of people. Not necessarily. There are a lot of sustainable fashion brands who train women in Pakistan because Pakistan is one of the most beautiful countries for fashion skills, but they don't have sometimes the training, and some brands have trained these Pakistanis women to do sustainable fashion. So but to understand this different information, read is one thing. Like to understand what you're wearing is one thing. The second easy thing I would say is, yeah, tidy up your wardrobe. Like really, like having a tidy up wardrobe to say, okay, first of all, it will help you to understand who you are, because fashion is a mirror of your soul. Like it's a mirror of your mind. If you tidy up your clothes, you will feel better, but you will be able also to understand what you're wearing and be able to wear better fashion. So for example, if tonight you're picking up like most of the brand that you have are fast fashion, maybe you can rethink your wardrobe. What are you doing with the remaining amount of clothes? Like let's say that you have this 40% of your wardrobe that you don't use. You can sell it. Like it's something that you will make money out of it, and you know, can give the money to your kid or somebody needs, so that you'll feel better and you'll do a good action. But you can give it to charity. Some people, like rich, at the moment we're living in a society where rich people are getting richer and poor people are getting poorer. So this 40% of clothes can be worn by poor people or people who are really looking for clothes. So that's something that you can do. That will be like a small step. Say, I'm tidying up my wardrobe. I feel better. This 40% of clothes, I'm giving it to a person in need. That's the very first step as well you can do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think we are running out of time now. It was absolutely amazing. I have a comment here in the chat that it was also very thought-provoking, and the message, people will care if you know, will stick with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have a question.
I have a question. Sorry. I too wanted to look like Naomi Campbell in my youth as well, so I'm with you with that. I'm a researcher at the University of Manchester. I work in the Fashion, Business and Technology department. So we're doing a lot of research in terms of equality and diversity and social sustainability in fashion. So a lot of what you were talking about really resonated with me. We've now started to look in terms of the metaverse and Web3 capabilities for like meta retail and meta kind of connectivity. And what we're realizing is that the little steps that we've moved forward with in terms of inclusivity and equity with this new kind of concept and concept of the metaverse, we're seeing that we're actually going backwards, and a lot of these really negative behaviors are allowed to really exist and permeate and grow and thrive in this very virtual world now. So it's really interesting to see that some of the kind of the positive steps forward with this concept of the metaverse and decentralization, and it's not being policed, it's very open and free. We're seeing a lot of moves, we're just going to kind of go completely backwards into the dark ages. So it's really interesting, and we're doing some really good research in that. So I'd love to contact you outside of this and get your perspectives.
To be honest, when I said some research, like either mine or some colleagues, I was referring to Fashion Manchester Institute and Glasgow University. So I was like, I'm glad you're here. Yeah. Oh yeah, contact me outside. Yeah, sure.
Thank you for the talk. It was fantastic.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, it was wonderful. Really enjoyed it and really learned a lot from it. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, if anybody has any questions or you want to contact Aurore, please get in touch. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.